Hi, recovery warriors. My name is Melissa Groman. I'm a psychotherapist in private practice in New Jersey and the author of the eating disorder recovery book, Better is Not So Far Away: Decide to Recover from Binging, Starving, and Cutting. And I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about jealousy. I wanted to offer you up 5 perspectives on jealousy that can help turn it into something very good and useful, a blessing even, instead of the gut wrenching, take us to our knees emotion that it often is, and that we often experience it as being. Um, and jealousy is one of those emotions that can really have us turning against ourselves, against our bodies, against our food, against our wellness, against our wisdom. But if we look at jealousy a little bit differently, without really having to do anything, but just have a new idea or a few new ideas about jealousy, can really change the landscape for us. So, the first thing I wanted to offer you about jealousy is that when we feel that emotion, it's usually based on an innocent human thought. And that human thought always has a grain of truth to it. And it's usually the chaser thoughts that are quieter and innocent and underneath that we get caught up in that usually bring us down. Usually the thought is, I want that, or I wish I had that, or I don't have that, and I'm upset that I don't have it. And then the quieter thought underneath it, and again, pretty innocently, is that because I don't have it, I'm nothing, or I'm less than, or I'll never have it, or I can't have it, or she's better than me, or she deserves it and I don't, and I'm bad because I don't have it, and all kinds of quiet things that really, really get us. That we can't survive without it, that life is terrible without it. And what happens really is that the perspective of getting caught in all of those quiet thoughts that we're sometimes not even aware of, like lightning during the day, is it's almost like our hand goes in front of our face. So if you pick your hand up and you put it right in front of your face, it's like all you can see is the front of your hand. So what I want to offer you up is the first thing you can do with jealousy is to take your hand and push it away from your face, and all of a sudden there's other light to be let in, and there's many other perspectives that can come in. So the first thing to know about jealousy is that your perspective for the moment is skewed when you feel that feeling, and that there is a real thought there of I want that, but it's the underlying thoughts of not being good enough. And what we end up doing is focusing sort of on that movie that starts to play quite innocently, and sometimes not even consciously. If I don't have it, I can't have it. They're better than me. I don't deserve it. I can't survive without it. I can't stand this. And we get caught up in that very innocently. And as soon as we're aware of it and we feel that feeling and we have a signal that, hey, our hand's in front of our face, we know that maybe we can't rely on that thinking. So that's thing number one, is to just be aware of that when it comes to jealousy. And certainly, we're so inundated with social media images that we're always looking at what's out there, and there's a lot of triggers. So we have to be on just on the watch and on the awareness for that. When we get triggered, the hand can go in front of our face. So that's thing one. The second really great thing about jealousy is that it's an opportunity for us to focus on what we yes have. So I know that a lot of times people tell me, hey, gratitude is overrated. And it's true, but it's not true, in that there are a lot of studies that show these days that gratitude, in fact, is not at all overrated, and that when we focus on what we yes have, actually the part of our brain that's more irrational calms down and our rational brain kicks in better. And the biochemistry that sends us good feelings naturally kicks in. And yes, our pain is still our pain and our troubles are still our troubles. But when we are willing to just kind of have the idea and let that kind of settle into our psyche, that jealousy is an opportunity to focus on what we yes have. I yes have eyes that can see. I yes have ears that can hear. I yes have clean drinking water. I yes have a pillow to put my head on comfortably at night. And add your own individual, unique yes haves to the list. That actually changes your biochemistry and helps a better feeling state to come on. The third thing about jealousy that I think is actually a real gift is it's a real clue into what we need. Jealousy can help us to figure out what it is that we need. If I'm jealous that someone is going on a vacation or has more time or more money or a better body or can eat in a way that we think they can eat, it's an indication to us that we need something. Maybe they have more nurturance or more money or more love, whatever it is. So it's a source of information. And when we get in touch with that, like what's the essence of what we're jealous of, then we can talk about, hey, what do we need? What do I need? And then, even more so, how do I go about getting it? What's the path here to get what I need? And is there a way to get what I need? And I know someone that was very, very jealous of a friend who was going to Italy. She was jealous of the fact that she could travel, that she had time, that she had money. And in fact, when she got in touch with it, she really realized that she too wanted to travel and go to Italy. She couldn't go the next day or even the next week, but she did end up coming up with a plan to put away some money and to work towards a goal of going to Italy. And in fact, she went, and she told me that it was all the more sweeter when she did this because she realized that she did it herself, she planned it, she earned it, and she saw that she can have things. And it was sweeter for her knowing about it and using her own body as her barometer and her guide and that feeling. And it reminded me of a statistic that I once read that somewhere between 80 and 90% of lottery winners actually lose all the money that they win, and of the big winners anyway, and then they end up in a tremendous amount of debt. And that there's something about having a windfall and not having earned it or been focused on it or being in touch with wanting it in a way that comes from an internal wellness and an internal compass that ends up not becoming a fulfillment or meaningful experience. So, jealousy is one way to figure out what is in our nature and our that we need for our nurture. How do we get in touch with what internally we need, and then how do we go about getting it? And if we look at jealousy as sort of a barometer and an informant as opposed to a destroyer, we can really use it for our good. The third thing, oh, I think I'm on number four. The fourth thing that I want to talk about in terms of jealousy is that it's an informant in terms of what do I value in life and where do I want to be pointed? What do I think is important? Do I find material things important or more spiritual things or some combination of both? Do I want to be doing something different with my time or my energy or my money when I know what I'm jealous of in somebody? It helps me to understand what I value and who I want to be and what I think is worthwhile in the world. And it points me back to what do I think are my moral compasses and what do I think is worth my time and who am I? And the beauty about this is that these are things that we really do have some say in, is how we respond and how we make choices and what we do with our perspectives and with our mindsets. We can work towards this. It's true that we sometimes can't change things that we have in the past. We can't change the childhood we had or the parents we had, but we can change our perspective on things. And we do have some choices. And we can see if we're jealous of something, where do I want to be pointed? So when we get this feeling and our hand goes in front of our face and we say, hey, wait, let me push the hand back and see, what does this mean to me? Where do I want to go? What kind of person do I want to be? What do I value? Honor, dignity, grace, integrity, honesty, generosity, inner peace. And those are things that are really attainable and they help us to figure out like what is the essence of what I'm coveting? What is the essence of what I think I don't have? And the fifth thing that I wanted to offer you up about jealousy is that old saying of compare and despair. And that when we compare ourselves with others, especially with fear, false evidence appearing real, when we compare our insides to other people's outsides, and again, with all the social media imaging and certainly other medias, our hand can go in front of our face and we start to kind of watch this movie of what we don't have. And it's a thought of, hey, I don't have that, but then those chaser thoughts, we can get very innocently involved in all of those. I'm not good enough, and I'll never have it, and I don't deserve to have it, and I don't know how I'll ever get it, and this is futile, and forget it. And that can take us in such a different direction when we get focused on that movie or the hands in front of our face. So if we remember that jealousy is a cue that we're comparing, and we can just know that what we should be comparing ourselves to is ourselves and our progress in life, and to be back in touch with the traits that we, yes, have, our internal traits, and our internal wisdom versus getting wrapped up in all of this confusing thought, jealousy is really a window into an inner sense of peace where we can say, wait a second, I'm comparing again. And let me compare myself to myself. Let me get in touch with my innate talents and my innate health and the things that I, yes, have internally. My artistic ability, my kindness, my creativity, my intellect, whatever your personal gifts are, my artistry, my ability to write, my ability to do kindness for people, whatever it is. And let me compare myself to myself and to what I want to do. And let me remember that just because somebody else is up doesn't mean that I'm down. You know, I used to think that life was like a seesaw and that whenever anybody else was up, that automatically meant I was down. And the same thing, that if I was up, then I was going to take from somebody else. That there was only so many, good vibes in the world, and if somebody else had them, then they were unavailable to me. And the truth is, there's an abundance, and there's an abundance not just in the external world, but there's an abundance in our internal worlds. And jealousy can really point us towards, hey, wait a second, I'm not in touch with the abundance internally. And when we get back in touch with our internal wisdom and we realize we're in a lot of that thought, and that jealousy is really, again, an informant, not a destroyer, and it doesn't have to send us reeling into that gut wrenching, being left out kind of feeling. It's really a window and an opportunity to say, who am I? What do I, yes, have? What do I value? Is my perspective being blocked? Do I need to push out and get back in touch with who I am and what I have a say in? And that can bring so many blessings. So thanks for hanging out with me. Wishing you many blessings.